Hello, everybody. It is so good to be here. You know, I am just so honored to be with normal American. I mean, it's just, Washington, D.C., these globalists who want to indoctrinate our children, they want to remove our moral foundation from the next generation. They want to make a generation that's completely reliant on the government. When I'm around them in Washington, D.C., I literally feel like we're at battle at all times. And it's not just against flesh and blood up there. You can feel the tension in that city. So when I get to come down to Orlando and see real Americans who care about this country, it does my heart so good. So thank you for that. But I wanted to really get to talk about what's going on in our nation. And I think what's happening is they're trying to destroy our nuclear family. They're trying to destroy what's made America great for so long, and that's our moral foundation, the fact that we were founded on Judeo-Christian values, and that we live in a nation that we can all be proud of. And when, I'm excited to be a dad. I just got married. Everything's going great in my life. Yes, thank you. And because of that, I'm starting to think about having children. My wife and I are having that conversation. Is it going to be 2 years, 3 years? When is it going to be? And something about that just makes me feel completed as a man and as a soon-to-be father one day. I feel like there's something primal within us that makes us want to raise children and rear them as we're called to do in the Bible. To be fruitful and multiply. But when I think about raising my children, obviously I want to provide for them. I want to give them shelter. I want to give them protection. I want to give them sustenance. But when I start to think about this child, I obviously want it to be very successful. And so I want my child to learn to be independent. And so because of that, I'm going to let my child push the boundaries every now and then. Maybe he's reaching for a limb I know it's just a little too far, and he might experience what it's like to fall out of a tree, or he's going to take a tumble on a playground that hurts him just a little bit. I know in that fact that he will learn what failure is. But, when my child starts to experience this extreme difficulty and realizes that he's in pain, what's it going to do? What's my little Throckmorton going to do? He's going to cry out. And as a father, I'm going to want to come to his aid and fix all those problems for him and put him back in a safe, sheltered area. That's the role of a father. It's the role of a mother. But my friends, that is not the role of our government. Our government right now is trying to buy votes in their desperate scramble to have nothing but complete power. They are trying to do this by, they're promising Medicare for all. They're promising free things just left and right. And they're promising to forgive student loans. Now, the problem I have with this is that it's intellectually dishonest. They're trying to think that Americans are too common, are too naive to know that in the end, we're the ones that have to foot the bill. In the end, it is the next generation, my generation, that will have to foot the bill for this debt and pay these taxes because people wanted to give away free tuition, because people wanted to try and buy votes. But I believe that in this country, we should push back on that. We as Americans must realize that our number one guiding principle is personal responsibility. We have to realize that what happens in our country when the government comes and tries to come to our aid and raise us up, if you have a government that is strong enough to fix all of your problems and heal all of your woes, then my friends, you have a government that is also strong enough to one day take away all of your liberties. And as conservatives, it is our mandate to limit that power of government, to make sure that our liberties stay intact. Because, my friends, let me tell you, when I look at what's going on in this country, when I see that they are trying to silence us, they are trying to take away our right to be able to defend ourselves, they're trying to make us become dependent on the government, they're trying to have indoctrination camps of schools, and the way they're trying to make us dependent on the government is through trying to say they want to get rid of all our student loans. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is people who didn't even go to college, young men and women who became welders or linemen on power lines or HVAC repairmen, or people who've already paid off their student loans, now have to go and take care of the fiscal irresponsibility of another person. So I realize, in my mind, I believe that we all must take note that they do not want us to be responsible. They don't want us to take responsibility for the direction that our country is going in. Because my friends, the direction our country is going in, we all know is very dangerous. We are walking down a road that is very near socialism. They are trying to turn this country into a communist ash heap. And my friends, if we do not all start taking personal responsibility for our lives, if we all do not start saying, as this next generation of young conservatives coming up, saying that, you know, it's not enough, we're not just going to take on the status quo, we're not just going to sit here and say, oh, well, you know, I'll just patiently wait for my time to come to go make a difference in Washington or in my state government. My friends, if we do that, if we sit on the sidelines, we will not have a country to inherit. If we do not get involved and say that it is our duty to make sure that our country is responsible, that our country doesn't take away our liberties, then, my friends, we will lose this nation. And so my encouragement to all of us here is, as young conservatives, this new generation that's coming up, it's time to take responsibility. I need reinforcements in Washington, D.C. The Democrats, my opponents and adversaries on the other side are brutal and vicious. And they are trying to take away all of our rights, and they are playing for keeps. And so, my friends, it is time for us to stand up and no longer say, oh, well, we're just going to react to what the Democrats do. And when they try to do all of this major spending bills, when they try to spend $1.9 trillion, the conservative idea is just that we're going to come and give you our own version of the liberal ideas that just cost a little bit less. That's not what we are as conservatives. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to come up here and promise you free things. As a conservative, the conservatives in government, we believe that we are going to offer you something that is immeasurably more valuable, and that is your freedom. That is your freedom to go out and have the right to fail or to succeed. Your freedom to speak up or to sit down. And my friends, we have that freedom right now, and it is time for us to no longer sit down. It's time for us to stand up and take on issues everywhere, whether it's on free education, our health care, the environment, our gun rights. This new generation of young conservatives, we do not just want a seat at the table to talk about this and react to what the Democrats do. We want to run the whole damn table. Because, my friend, what we are offering the American people is liberty and choice. We are going to say you can go out and do whatever you want. And maybe we're not going to encourage you to go get a 4-year degree in Egyptology. But rather, we're going to encourage you to get an education in a trade, something that makes our economy even more powerful. So, my friends, when you hear the Democrats trying to buy your votes and acting like you are too naive to know what is going on, push back on that. Take personal responsibility for your life, because if we don't stand up, if we don't start fighting for our country, then who will? Thank you.